Good evening, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
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 Wonderful. Thank you all for joining this evening. We'll give everyone a couple minutes to jump on before we get started. All right, we'll give about 30 more seconds before we go ahead and jump in. All right, we'll go ahead and begin. So, good evening once again. My name is Coach Llaneika Baines, and I am one of the coaches for Academic Coaching for World Changers. I am stepping in for Coach Jeremy this evening. I would first like to begin with this session will be recorded, so you will have access to this video. We do have a chat box, so if you have any questions that you're needing specific insight on, then you can drop it in the chat. And if we have a good amount of time, we can go over them here in group. If not, then I will be more than happy to send you resources over that topic if it's one that's really lengthy, like let's say like the process of doing bell curve questions, then that's a lengthy process. So I wouldn't mind sending you resources on that type of topic. Just go ahead and drop it in the chat if there's something specific that you would like to go over. My envision for this evening session is I kind of want to go over some resources that you have made available to you. I wanted to go over the outline of one of the resources, which is the Hellwick book, the domains that will be covered on the NCE and the CPCE assessment. And then I'll kind of want to talk through the top four domains that are like the heavy hitters on the exam. So we'll kind of touch base on some of those points. And I do have a couple slides that I consider as outliers. They're kind of important, but they don't really plug into specific domains. So I have a couple of those that I would like to get through. Hopefully we'll be able to get through all of it in tonight's session. So I will begin with sharing my screen so that I can show you the resources that we have made available to you all. Okay. So the first resource that I would like to share is your Hellwig book, and this is called the Study Guide for the National Counselor Examination. And so this is what the coaches uses when we are doing individual sessions with our clients. And so it breaks down each domain very nicely. There are 8 domains for the exam. It breaks it down: human growth and development, social culture diversity, our helping relationships, group counseling, career development, assessment and testing, research, and then our professional and ethical practice. So there are four major domains that the NCE covers. And the first one that we always like to hit is that helping relationships. That's the biggest part of your exam. It covers about 46 to over 50 questions on the exam. So we always kind of like to start there because it is one of your larger domains. The next leading domain would be your group work, your group counseling. This one hits about 28 to mid 30 question range. So that one is pretty big as well. And we'll kind of skim through some of the main things to look out for this domain. Assessment is the next biggest piece, about 26 to about 30 something questions on that part as well. Check our waiting room really quickly. Okay, just make sure no one's waiting to get in. And then we have our, for assessments, it's about 26 to 30 something questions. And then we have careers. Careers is a large part, about 18 to 20 something questions. But what makes it so large is there aren't a whole bunch of career theories to know, but there are a few that you have to know every single thing about, and it breaks it down into the types of assessment that they give and how to choose a career. And like for super, he has 3 different methods that he used in order to help people with career development. So that's why that one is so large. And we hear that Holland's hexagon is what's really, really hitting heavy on the test nowadays. And then the other 4 are a little smaller, but we still need to know things covered in those domains. And that would be your ethics, then research, human growth and development, and then your social and cultural diversity. Okay, so now I would like to share another resource with you, which is our Pocket Prep. And so if you're looking to download the app Pocket Prep, if you have not done so already, Academic Coaching for World Changers are now partners with Pocket Prep. So that's how much we stand behind the power and beauty in Pocket Prep. They do give amazing questions over each and every domain. We just do recommend that you use it about a month to 2 months out before your test. Do not let this be your only resource for studying, because it's so easy to go through all the questions and then start getting them right because of memorization. So what you can do is I can drop this code inside of our chat box so that you'll have it. Okay, there you go. There's the link directly to the Pocket Prep so that you can get that downloaded onto your phone. Okay, now let's switch gears and let's go into the largest domain that I always like to cover with my students, and that is helping relationships. So as we look through helping relationships, I always start with the initial screen of these are an overview of all of our key players in helping relationships. So like if you're scanning through any of these names and they don't look familiar, just make sure that you dive a little bit deeper into those theorists specifically, because they are and they will be on the assessment. One that is very huge that kind of does a double dip between helping relationships and human growth and development, that will be Freud. And so I will share this slide with you, because if you click on Freud, then it will take you to a document that covers all things Freud. I mean, he is so big. He's our psych guy. So he psychoanalytic, psychodynamic, psychosocial. He's everything psych. And so I just did a brain dump of all things Freud on this document. So you can kind of skim through. You'll see our defense mechanisms, and there are some practice questions linked to this document as well. So I'll be sure to share this resource with you so that you will have it. Okay, so a couple other big names in here would be our Rogers client-centered therapist. And we can take a look through here really quickly. Screen will change. There we go. And so just to point out a couple of things between Freud and Gestalt is what I see mostly with my clients is they try to associate both Freud and Gestalt theory, but they are two separate people, two separate theorists. Freud is client-centered, person-centered. It's all about the client coming in and they are the experts of whatever issue that they have going on. So they are the expert of themselves. He is known to be opposite of Freud because as we know, Freud is the expert of them all. So you go to Freud and you sit down and talk to him about your issues. And so he would tell you the root cause of your issues, your diagnosis, and how to work through it. So Rogers is the complete opposite. So Rogers will be the one that you come in and you tell him your issues and you kind of guide through and talk through what a good treatment plan would be. He's really big on empathy, congruence, unconditional positive regard. So you will not see his name. Most likely you won't. Sometimes you get lucky, you might see his name one time, but most of the time you will not. You will see those keywords associated with him, such as empathy, congruence, unconditional positive regard. Also, something that is that is about Rogers is he did not believe in diagnosing. So at the end of your session with him, you would ask, okay, doc, what's my diagnosis? He would say, I can't give you a diagnosis because I do not believe in that. And so the word phenomenological world, this will come up with a couple of our theorists. So just know which ones they are associated with. It's nothing that you have to memorize, but it's helpful to know who's associated with it because it'll give you better insights as to who these people are. So phenomenological world is when the counselor is viewing things through the client's lens, through their eyes. I like to say that it's the client's world and we as counselors, we're just living in it. So we kind of see things from their perspective to kind of help guide, clarify, and reflect through communication with our clients. Fritz Perls is another big one. He has the empty chair technique, which we could be familiar with. And so the big thing about Fritz Perls is, of course, they're not going to use his name. They will say here and now. Unfinished business. So he's all about getting rid of that unfinished business, coming into the session and using whatever technique that we have to use in order to act out your emotions or get rid of that unfinished business, role play with the counselor, do reenactments. So he believed in that experiential therapy, and that's when he got in there with his clients to help them be in the moment. Knowing that Alfred Adler is our individual psychologist. He did believe that everyone is a unique individual and it is influenced by our social factors, which are influenced by our birth order. So that's important to know. Also, again, they probably won't use his name, but they will use that inferiority, superiority. So with Adler, he really based this whole thing off of our birth order. Our birth order was the thing that kind of shaped us socially. So he felt like when that firstborn arrived into the world, they were born with superiority. So I like to think about that your birthday. It's that first birthday. It's the big events. Your first Christmas, your first holidays. They are pretty big as the first child to be born. So you're feeling pretty superior. Then that second child comes along, and the key term that they use there is dethrone. So that first child will then be dethroned from that superiority status, and they are left to feel inferior. Inferior means that we feel less than. We have a lower self esteem, lower self confidence. So that's what that inferiority means. And so that firstborn strives their entire life to be superior again. And so another thing that we're seeing with Adler is he used therapy as an opportunity to teach, inform, and encourage his clients. And so he also took that opportunity to build that therapeutic relationship as a collaborative partnership. So it was kind of like that give take. And so that was another big one. I'm gonna try to run through a couple more to see. Oh, here we go. Our William Glasser reality choice therapy. That's another huge one that we're hearing. It's a lot of questions over recently. And this is our reality therapy. So with William Glasser, he said that we had 5 genetically based needs that needed to get met: love and belonging, power, fun, survival, freedom. And so, how we got those needs met was on us. So, if we decided to go get love and belonging from our neighbor's spouse, then we better be ready to deal with the consequences. We have to take responsibility of the choices that we've made. He believed that our perceptions is what controlled our behaviors. And the way we behaved, whether it was appropriate or inappropriately, to feel our needs. So think about your perceptions. What you think, how you view things is what controls our behaviors. So that was another big one. Okay. Let's see who is left on the screen. Know the difference between our CBT and our DBT. CBT is by Aaron Beck, and that's our cognitive behavioral therapy. And that is when we focus on changing our thoughts. That cognitive is your mind, your thoughts. So we focus on changing our thoughts. Well, then we will change our feelings about the situation, which will then change our behaviors about the situation. So Aaron Beck, a little tidbit about him is he did not believe in depression. He just said that we have stinking thinking. We have messed up ways of thinking. And then I like to talk about Marsha Linehan. This is our DBT, our dialectical behavior therapist. And she was all about being mindful. She originated this theory for borderline personality disorders. It then kind of shifted to being used with our children in the school system. So think about it as for Marsha Linehan with DBT, we really focus on those behaviors. It's the exact opposite of CBT. So we first focus on the behaviors that's being exhibited. And then we focus on shifting and recognizing those feelings associated. And then we change our thoughts. So that is DBT. All of these are important to know as well. But again, I'll share this with you so you can kind of go through them. I want to try to touch on each big domain. Your counseling skills. It is very important to know all of your counseling skills. They could come up in a question. We already talked through empathetic understanding because that was Rogers who used empathy. He also used that unconditioned positive regard and congruence. So the first three, you already have an idea. But the next, I want you to make sure you know about like that concreteness. So we address issues in specific, clear terms rather than something vague. Our clients, when they kind of want to try to beat around the bush when addressing situations, no, we like to know in concrete terms. Immediacy, we want to address things in the moment. So not something that happened 3 sessions ago, but right here in the moment is what we want to address. And then another couple that are important is that reflection. So reflection, just remember that it sounds very similar to restatement, but it's different because when we reflect, we echo back what the client has said, but we really focus on that emotional content that was used when the client was speaking. So reflection always ties in that emotional piece. When we're using just basic restatement, that's just when you're echoing back the client's words. But reflection, it adds that emotional piece. Silence, silence is good. Silence is okay. We take a pause in the conversation, but we take a pause in the conversation to allow our clients to think about their thoughts, for that emotional processing to happen, and for them to kind of get a grasp on their emotions and their intentions on what and how they want to say. So when we're answering these questions, a tip is to answer the questions with the client's best interest at hand. So unfortunately, this test doesn't care about the counselor and the counselor's feelings and emotions. It's all about the client. So when we do give silence to a client, it's so that they can use that opportunity to do that emotional processing. And then confrontation is one. It's when we call our clients out on any discrepancies that we may hear or see in their verbal or nonverbal behaviors. And that's okay to do. We have to hold them accountable. And so that was just a quick overview of helping relationships. I do want to jump over to our next largest domain, which is group counseling. And we're just going to do a little skim over what that entails. Again, if you have any specific questions, be sure to drop it in the chat. I will try to answer as we go or save questions for the very end. And if it's something very that is in depth, then I'll just send you the resources over that topic. You just drop your information, email address, and I will get it sent over to you. Okay, so for group work, we don't necessarily need to know when group became prevalent, how we got started, but it is nice to know just a little bit of background. So group counseling became prevalent during World War II. And that was because just imagine our soldiers seeing the things that they saw or going through the things that they've been through. And so, of course, following the war, they're needing to talk about some of the things that they experienced. But we didn't have that many, there were not that many therapists, individual therapists to meet the need. So that's how group counseling became prevalent. but it did help our soldiers develop an understanding and sensitivity towards others, be able to practice those new communication and interpersonal and coping skills. Oops, sorry. What's next is what is appropriate for group count? Who is appropriate for group counseling versus who would probably benefit more from individual counseling? So for group counseling, it's more of the basics, I like to say. So those people who have a little bit of motivation for change, they're getting there. They just kind of need that more positive self concepts. They need peer support, so they'll work well in group. They want to be involved in counseling slowly. It doesn't have to be, a full commitment, but at least if they're interested in it, then those are good candidates for group counseling, as well as they have just generic type issues such as stress related things, marital difficulties, academic problems, just kind of those surface level type needs. What is best for our individual counseling is those that are in a state of crisis. You have someone sitting in group that is suicidal, they are not the best candidate to be in group counseling. They need more of that individual one-on-one type of treatment. Also, what's better individual instead of group is those who are struggling with extreme depression, withdrawal, contact with reality, brain damage. So that's more of our individual versus group, because the whole purpose in group is for everyone to be able to grow, everyone to kind of lean and depend on each other to help move through the group processes. And if we have one member that is a lot more needy due to some kind of underlying issue or things like that, then it will prevent the group from moving through the process. And so those candidates will be better recommended for individual counseling. For group, we need to know the 3 group developmentalists, the main 3 developmentalists. And this will be Tuckman, Corey, and Yala. Those are our 3 big developmentalists. Tuckman is very huge. He has the 5 stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. He's the only one that has the norming stage. You have Corey and Corey. Corey and Corey have similar stages, except what's different is he has pre-group. Pre-group is when group counseling takes place before the group is even formed. So when I'm trying to form my group, well, I'm doing like a casting call, or when I'm reaching out, trying to form my group, Corey said that's when pre-group starts. That's when counseling starts, is during that pre-group. He's the only one that has pre-group. You have Yalom stages. Yalom only have 4 stages, but Yalom does have another whole piece, and those are our curative factors. Make sure you know all curative factors, and we'll go talk about a couple of them because some are obvious and some are not so obvious. So the best thing to know about these 3 is know how the stages kind of line up to one another. So for instance, for Tuckman, his forming stage is very similar to Corey's initial stage. It's that same awkwardness, uncertainty, surface level conversations, waiting for the leader to take initiative. So just know how these stages line up to one another and the order of the stages. Another thing to know is for Yalom stage, he does have a termination stage. It is not listed here, but all of our group counselings, they do have a final termination stage. Something that you might not see in the Hellwig book that is helpful to know is the term rituals. So rituals is a term that is used during our final termination stage. And so in counseling, we use rituals to kind of wrap up our group. So rituals could be giving someone a high five, giving your group members a hug to say goodbye. It was nice having group with you. It could be you guys sharing a dessert or sharing a meal. So just know that that does take place. It could take place during that final termination stage. And again, that is called rituals. Know the different types of groups. That's important. Homogeneous versus heterogeneous groups. Open group versus closed group. Closed group, you start and end with the same people on the roster. Open group, your members kind of come and go at different times. Now, this group is kind of hard to build that cohesiveness with because of the evolving door. However, according to the test, it is best to have an open group. And that is because new ideas are coming in as those new members join. And so it's a new perspective. And so again, this helps your clients, your other clients, move through the group process. So make sure you always remember that for test purposes, open group is what's best recommended. And everything is always for the best interest of the client. Group size, adults, 8 max is about 6 to 8. Children, you need to have about 3 to 4 children in the group, 30 to 45 minutes max when you meet. These groups, they meet weekly. Okay, let's get down to, okay, so your leadership roles and responsibilities, know all 3 leadership roles. They are very important. You have your authoritarian, your democratic, your laissez-faire. Authoritarian is more leader in structure, directive, but it also creates member rebelliousness because no one likes being told what to do. And these are more for those court appointed sessions because it's like they're there for a purpose, they're to make decisions, and that's it. Then you have your democratic, and this is more of a give and take. It's a mutual decision making between clients and counselors. That one is most desirable for your members. And then you have your laissez-faire, little leader participation. They take a hands-off approach, and but members show very little productivity in those types of groups with that laissez-faire leader because the leader kind of takes the back seat. So no one's really driving the bus. Knowing the advantages and disadvantages of having a co-leader. That one is pretty self-explanatory, so I'll keep going. I want you to know that all of your helping relationship theorists, it all transfers over into group counseling. So you can have Adlerian counseling and use Adlerian techniques in group counseling. You can use Gestalt techniques in group counseling. So just know, really get a good foundation of those helping relationship theorists and theories because they all transfer over to group, which is nice because it's not like you're learning a whole bunch more information. It's just applying it to a different group, a different setting. Here are your curative factors by Yalom that we talked about a little while ago. You have your universality, installation of hope, imparting information, altruism, interpersonal learning, imitation modeling, corrective recapitulation, catharsis, cohesiveness, existential learning. So a couple that I would like to point out is altruism. So that's number 4. That's the good feeling that comes from helping or giving to other members. So you help them without expecting anything in return. You're just doing it out the goodness of the kindness of your heart. You know, that's just the right thing to do. You're not looking for a paycheck. You're not looking for anything. You're just helping others. And when you are in group counseling and it comes to AA, It is always said that once you make it to the other side, that you bring someone along with you, at least one person with you. That way we're spreading good, we're helping others, and we're not expecting anything in return. So that's that altruism. You also have the corrective recapitulation of the primary family group. So what that will look like, that one is kind of hard to understand until you actually hear what it means. So it's when your group becomes like a family. And this gives members opportunities to resolve any problems from past family relationships. So an example I like to use is, let's just say that you probably had a rough relationship with one of your parents, your mom growing up, and your mom would yell, your mom would scream, your mom would judge, your mom would just be really critical of you. And so that kind of created some resistance. It kind of created some bad feelings towards your mother. Now that you're in group counseling, you recognize someone in counseling that looks just like your mom, kind of sounds like your mom, but they're the nicer version. They're everything that you didn't have growing up. And so just by having that relationship in counseling with that person that resembles your mom, but the nice version of your mom, your issues, your past issues with your mom has been resolved. So that one is pretty cool. Like you basically solve your issues in group with people that you don't know. When you have family members that you probably have some disdain with. Then we have catharsis. Catharsis is expressing your deeper feelings in group. That also increases trust. So catharsis is like that deep expression. So let's just say, you let out a deep sigh and you're, oh, of course, everyone's natural instinct is to ask, are you okay? What's wrong? So that's where it builds that trust. But it is for your it's a release of feelings, a release of feelings. So also it could look like someone sobbing in the corner. So that is a deep release of feelings. And then the rest are self-explanatory. Let's see what else. Yes, group is all about the cohesiveness. So knowing that during your norms are like your rules. You have explicit and implicit norms. Explicit if they're specifically stated. Implicit is it's not said, but we all understand that that's the rule. You do have your Johari window. This one is the gist of the Johari window is the whole purpose in group. And the purpose in group is to get to know yourself more while allowing others to get to know you as well. So we have our 4 quadrants: public self, hidden self, private self, unknown self. You want to enlarge public self, and this is area 1. So that is what's known to you and what's known to others. We want to enlarge, increase area 1. As we enlarge, increase area 1, we want to decrease, minimize, shrink areas 2, 3, 4. Because area 2 is what's not known to self, but it is known to others. So that is, you have a booger in your nose. You don't see the booger in your nose, but everyone else sees the booger in your nose. We want to shrink that. We want you to be very self-aware. Area 3 is what is known to self, but not known to others. Those are your skeletons in the closet. You cannot grow if we're hiding, if we're living in secrecy. No, you have to share so others can help you through the process. So again, we want to shrink private self, and we want to shrink what's unknown to you and unknown to others. You want to get to know yourself more. So that's your Harvey window. And the questions for our Johari window is very straightforward. Which domain should you increase, or which domain is best to be enlarged? Always public self, area 1. Conflict in group is good. We want that to happen so that your group members can learn how to work out a conflict resolution. If it gets out of hand, that's when the group leader is needed, but typically your group can work through that. And here's where I was saying all of your theoretical approaches, they come back in group counseling. Okay, and so that is almost time. So let me go to our outlier screen. So these are the things that we don't, they don't really fall inside of a category. Um, so the first one that I would like to talk about is that cognitive dissonance theory. So cognitive dissonance is an internal conflict that occurs within a person when they hold two conflicting beliefs simultaneously. That means at the same time. So a good example is smoking versus health. We all know that smoking is harmful to your health, yet people still continue to smoke despite this knowledge. So that presents a cognitive dissonance for the smoker who accepts that their behavior contradicts the belief about health and well-being. So that's just that inner battle between what you're doing, what you know is not good, but you are aware that this is not good for you. So that's just that battle within. It's confusing. It causes conflict within yourself. So cognitive dissonance is a term. Know about your conditioning. This actually falls in where our behavioral therapists are. So when we're looking at our classical conditioning, always think of Pavlov, always say, okay, so Pav, Paul, that dog, Paul, that's that classical conditioning with the dog that's involved, that's the bell. The unconditioned stimulus, neutral stimulus, unconditioned response, then you have your conditioned stimulus and conditioned response. Just know the differences. Voicemail schedule. Okay, this is one that I find really interesting, and this is called the stages of change. So this is created by Prochaska, and they said that there are 6 stages of change. The first start with that pre-contemplation. So you have no intention of changing your behavior. So let's just say I know I need to start working out. I have no intentions on working out. So that's my pre-contemplation stage. No intention of changing this unhealthy relationship with food. My second stage is contemplation. I'm aware that the problem exists. So I know that I'm overeating. I know I'm putting on the pounds. But again, no commitment to change. But I am aware that it's a problem. Third stage, preparation. That is intent upon taking action. Okay, so now I'm actually thinking about it. Okay, so what can I do? I can probably cut back eating sugars. I can think about looking into a gym that's close to my house. So now you're thinking about that change that needs to happen, and you're kind of preparing mentally. You're preparing what changes can be made. Your next stage is action. And so that's an active modification of your behavior. So you signed up for that gym membership. You're in the gym at least 2 days out of the week. So you're actually doing something to make change. The next stage is your maintenance stage. And so this is when you sustain the change. Your new behavior has now replaced the old behavior. I now no longer have an unhealthy relationship with food. I now am on my fitness journey of working out. And then the last stage is relapse. So you fall back into your old patterns of behavior. So it's hit or miss if this happens. It could happen to you and it could not happen to you. But I just want to make note that when you relapse, it's possible to hit this relapse after you've taken action. So it doesn't necessarily come after you're maintaining. It could come before you've maintained. So you've taken action, you started going to the gym. The first week you did so good, you went 2 days, and then the next week you're back to eating unhealthy and you don't even pay your gym membership anymore. So just know that that relapse can happen before that maintenance stage. So those are the stages of change. Okay. And that, I believe that is it. Oh, no, I have a couple more really quick, and then we'll be done. I have a couple more. So the first one is the stages of grief. And this is Kubler-Ross, and he has the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, depression, bargaining, acceptance. The biggest thing to know about the Kubler-Ross stages of grief is it does not have to happen in that exact order anymore. You do need to know all 5, and it's nice to know in that order just because for memorization purposes is great, but it does not happen in that order. So you could hit depression before you hit that anger stage. You could hit that bargaining before you hit the denial stage. So it does not have to happen in order. So that's what we need to know about the Kubler-Ross stages of death or grief. And then the last thing before we jump off, which is an outlier, and there's been some discrepancy in when and how to accept gifts. This is actually in the ethics section, but when you're accepting gifts, know that there is no dollar amount tied to how much or what we can accept from our clients. So it's really based on a case-by-case basis. So it also depends on your therapeutic relationship. How might accepting this gift impact the dynamic or the trust between you and your clients? The value of the gift. Again, there's no dollar amount. However, it must be, is it a small token? Is it something small? Or is it something significant? So you just have to use your best judgment, knowing that, okay, if it's something like a brand new car, we know obviously that's not ethical. We can't accept that. But something smaller, then yes. How will it affect the client's motivation? Or what is the client's motivation behind the gift? Is it because they really appreciate you or they're trying to manipulate you? And then the counselor's motivation, do we appreciate it or do we feel like, okay, we're crossing boundaries here? So know this when it comes to accepting gifts. Also, I didn't put it on here, but another one is bartering. We do accept bartering in counseling. That's one that's kind of like hard to fathom, but you can accept bartering. So that is exchanging your counseling service for a good. So let's just say, your client comes to you and they want to offer you, which doesn't sound ethical, but it's fine. We just have to put it in writing. But your client offers you house cleaning services. So that's an exchange. So you're providing services for services. They're cleaning your house, you're providing them counselor services. And things like that. But just make sure we get it in writing and make sure the client understands that, okay, so this could affect our relationship. And that's all we have time for today. So again, guys, if there's something specific that you are wanting or needing, then just drop your information in the chat box and I will get you additional resources. We didn't have time to cover every single thing, but we did hit the top 2 biggest domains. I will go ahead and work on getting this PowerPoint shared in our whole group really quickly. We'll have a couple minutes. When you get this link, just make a copy of the document because I think, let's see, I think you have, oh no, you just can view it, which is fine. Okay, perfect. I'll just make sure there weren't any editing rights. I didn't want it to change for everyone. Okay, there's the first document, and that is your helping relationships. And I would like to share groups with you as well.
Jennifer, Coach Jennifer.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Coach Llaneika, but yes,
Oh,
how can I help
Llaneika,
you?
I'm so sorry.
That's
Um,
okay.
I wanted to know, will you send it to my email because I have a hard time getting it out of the chat.
Sure. I
Uh,
will send it to your email. It's in you dropped your email address in our chat
I
box.
did. I did. It's
Perfect.
caldeanray@yahoo.com.
Yep, I will get these resources sent to you.
Thanks. You
If
did
you
an
dropped your
excellent.
email.
You did an
Uh-huh.
excellent job.
Oh, thank you so much. Sorry
You're
we didn't
welcome.
have more time to go over more things, but maybe next time.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Of course, no problem.
Are you going to do like a 4-hour boot camp?
No, I'm not. I'm not. But there are other coaches that they can. I do individual sessions and I substitute for like the Facebook Live or even Dr. Pam's prep 2-hour prep course. Like I'll do subbing, but no, I haven't signed up for that yet.
Can you put the link in how we can get either the private tutoring with you or
Sure.
if you're going to do a 2-hour substituting for Dr. Pam, that'd be great.
Okay, perfect. So what I'll do is
Yeah.
I'll drop the coupon codes in our chat box. If you want to sign up for individual counseling, it does give you a discount. And also just make note that starting July 1st, the prices for individual session prices for everything is changing. So if you want to get in the future, go ahead and pay for your sessions now so that you can lock in the current rates.
And how many sessions do you recommend?
For
Or
someone just
suggest?
starting out, I say do the whole 12. If you have 90 days to commit, I say do 12. But if you've already been studying independently very well on your own, then I would say do 4 to 6.
Yeah,
It really just depends on where you're at in your studying.
yeah, I have to take it again. I took it, I missed it by 3 points.
Oh, that is so close. Yeah, so you would
I
probably
know.
only need a couple sessions, not a couple, but like 4 to 6 to really nail down what is it that you missed.
Okay. Yeah, because every single time I'm in a group or something like that with you all, there's always one piece that I'm like, oh, that's why I missed that question.
Right. It's always some new information. And that's why I like to really touch on these outliers that really they don't fall anywhere in particular, because it could just be that one question, like Kubler-Ross, the stages of grief, or anything like that, that one question that could make or break, pass or fail. So
yeah, I figured that's what I did was I missed it by one question.
yeah, most likely.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, get some sessions in, and do it within like 30 days. So the rest of the information that you already know is fresh.
yeah, I'm almost 30 days out from taking my exam right now.
Wow. Okay, perfect. So yeah, go ahead and get some sessions in. There are the coupon codes for individual, and there's a discount for boot camp. And then I was going to drop this last document in our chat.
Yeah, for some reason I didn't get them, but okay. If you can, you know what, I did drop my email in there. That'd be great.
Perfect, Victoria. I will get it all emailed over to you.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Of course.
The other links, will you be dropping them in the chat or are you going to send those out via email?
I'm dropping you're saying the groups?
Yes, the codes to book you for one-on-one and
Yeah, so
the
I dropped the codes in our chat already, and I dropped the helping relationships document in our chat. I am getting ready to drop groups in our chat next. But if you can't download it or can't see it for any reason, then I can just send it to you directly. Just tell me, just drop your email address in the chat and I will get it sent.
Okay.
Sorry
Thank
to
you.
interrupt. I'm having the same issue. I can't seem to see the codes or anything, and I will put my email as well in the chat. If you could just send
Perfect.
me
I
that
wrote your name
information
down.
directly. Thank you.
Of course.
The codes, ma'am, it's because I sent you a private message and I think it
Oh,
stayed like on my message. Sorry about that.
that's why. And
Sorry.
that's okay. Here,
Okay.
I'll just pull it from our chat and drop it in everyone else's. Thanks for
Okay.
letting me
Yes.
know.
I have a quick question about the 4-hour boot camp.
Sure.
My test is scheduled for July 15th and the next boot camp is scheduled for July 11th. So I'm curious if I should wait and take that one and then have like the weekend, kind of use that as like a prep right before the test, or if I should buy one of the pre-recorded ones now.
I
Because
would start now because who knows how much information you might be lacking. So I
okay.
would say the earlier, the better.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, group, I dropped the coupon codes in our whole chat. Can you see that? And then I'll go back and drop our, oh, it said I did drop the helping relationships in the whole chat. Just let me know if you can't see it. And then
Yeah,
those who already reached out.
I don't see the discount, and I
Okay,
don't I don't see
I'll,
the you have my email there and the
I do.
helping relations in the other one. Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
of course. Okay, last document, let me drop and then done. The last link, and that's for group.
I need the one for boot camp. Oh, I see it. I see it now. Thank you.
Huh. All right, y'all, I have email addresses. So if your email is in the chat, then I will just automatically send you all of the resources we had today, just so we don't miss anyone. But I can also drop my email address in the chat if you guys need to contact me directly.
Okay.
You're welcome, Renee. Okay, perfect. All right, y'all, it was so great having you, and we will see you next time.
How often do you
Bye-bye.
do these?
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. So I did, this was my first and
Okay.
only one, but I feel like Jeremy does them quite a bit. I want to say at least once a month, at
Okay.
least.
And are these posted on the Facebook page?
Yes, they'll
Okay,
be
okay.
posted on the Facebook.
Okay, perfect. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
I
This
have a
was really
question
great.
also.
Sure, Ann, what's up?
Like when we pay for the individual sessions, do we just ask like for you specifically or like they just give us anybody?
That's a great question. So if you click the coupon code that I gave you, it automatically is attached to my name. So, but if you wanted a different coach or anything, then you would just email that Dr. Pam 2020 at Gmail and you just tell them whatever coach you want.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Have a great evening.
You're welcome. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, Victoria.